Besiege has gotten a few new levels and the gods requested me to visit them. This is going to be the first Craftardia video that is not Fallout 4, and I'm curious to see how you guys like it. So the story here is that the gods have instructed us to visit Tolbrynd in order to complete a few missions because of a rogue associate who decided to make Tolbrynd his personal playground, and that was unacceptable. Just to make sure, if you want me to make videos of previous missions, make sure to comment below and we're gonna go to the past and I'll show you how the story progressed to this point. We're gonna start with Odd Contraption. In this zone I had to do something with this Odd Contraption. The gods didn't know what it was, so it was up to me to find out. My first guess was to smash it to shit, of course, so after building a simple car and a wooden block in the front, I added a spiked ball on top and attempted to slam it into the contraption. As I hit the thing, it slowly started spinning. Then I realized this thing was actually a valve. Stupid of me to not notice it immediately, but such is life. Stupidity is all around us. The new idea was to replace the spiked ball with a spinning block and then attach a wooden pole to the side with a grabber. At first the idea seemed perfect to me. I didn't have to do anything, just approach the valve and the machine would spin its spin. Well, I did approach the valve and as soon as I connected the grabber to it, it broke like a little bitch instantly. Obviously the spinning block was too fast, so I replaced it with a steering block. This was it. The glory of Petardia began reaching this odd contraption, and as soon as I grabbed the handle, it started nicely spinning and the progress bar grew faster than my penis from all this sensual spinning. This zone was conquered and we were allowed to teleport to the next zone. This zone is called Diom's well, and the goal is to poison this well. In order to poison it, we must grab poison from this pile and drop it in the hole. We had to do this because this well was the main source of water for the rogue associate, so poisoning it would help us get him to leave Tolbrynd. I decided to add another set of wheels to my already existing machine, and then I wanted to place two different grabbers, one to pick up the poison and one to take the poison and drop it in the well. To do this, I placed two steering hinges in front of the wooden block and two steering hinges on top of it. The two grabbers attached to them should be able to do the job. I used the bottom grabber to grab the poison and transfer it onto the upper grabber. It took 2 attempts to do this because I can't seem to press more than 2 buttons on my keyboard without fucking everything up. Once I was next to the well, I couldn't figure out how to stick the poison through the narrow gap between the roof and the hole, so I said fuck it and slammed the poison into the roof, and it broke, while the poison seemed intact. This was really strange because at this moment I realized that the poison is unbreakable, which made the entire level much easier. I thought the rogue bastard would make it fragile, so when you dropped it, it would break and spread a disease across the level, turning your machine into a bunch of butterfly flamingo hybrids that could fart out chickens. Imagine the horror. But anyway, I dropped the poison inside, took another barrel and dropped it again. This zone was conquered and I was happy for the lack of butterfly flamingo chicken shitting hybrids. Immediately after teleporting to the next zone, called Surrounded, I got surrounded by a bunch of shrapnel cannons whose only goal was to fuck me up as hard as possible, while my goal was to destroy at least 90% of them. My initial logic instructed my brain to build a shit ton of cannons on my machine and simply activate them as soon as I start the level. The problem with this logic is that it's completely shit. Creating a machine that would have cannons hit 90% of the targets doesn't exactly seem possible, and besides my machine was simply too high above ground, so most shots flew over the targets. Just look at this crap. So I deleted the bottom side and created what I call Hitler's Cannonade. I don't know what made me think this would work, it is literally the same thing as before, just with more cannons. It didn't work, Hitler heavily disappointed me and the gods. I thought for a bit and came up with another idiotic idea. I placed a bunch of suspensions as the platform, because I figured it wouldn't fall apart as fast as wood does. Then I put a bunch of flaming balls on top. I saw the wooden supports on the cannons, so I assumed I could burn them down. I expected the balls to roll towards the cannons and a chain reaction would burn all of them. The only thing that burned was my pissing after this failed. The next idea was to place a spinning block on top of the starting block and then attach a bunch of pistons on 2 sides. Then place metal blades on both ends. I like this idea the most because stabbing motherfuckers satisfies the gods more than anything else, and I was certain that they would give me the blessings to stab 90% of these cannons. I made sure to have a nice and armored platform under the stabby spinner and I started the level. The stabbage was very effective, but they managed to destroy my platform before I was able to destroy the final cannon. I didn't quit though. Quitting is for little cunts. I continued squirming around like a retarded snake on drugs, and I was certain I would hit that damn cannon. Observe this magnificent MLG 360 turn and swipe. The cannon got sliced and the glory of Petardia reached another level. Sacred Flame is next. It is beautiful. The flame was created directly by the rogue associate who had the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan powers, and he was able to turn the regular flame into this blue one. We had to get rid of it. My first idea was to build a flying machine that had water cannons in front. I could simply fly up and extinguish the flame. Easy. The only issue was the fact that I have become very incompetent at building nice things in this game. My plane was terrible and I wasn't able to control it. I couldn't find the right balance no matter how much I prayed for the gods' help. I tried a few different versions but it just wasn't working. The plane idea was disgusting and in the end I wanted to purposefully smash it into the flame so it burns to death. But I couldn't even do that. New plan, build a catapult and then extinguish the flame when it drops to the ground with the front water cannons. I built a simple catapult with a holder and a bomb in it. In order to have enough force to launch the bomb, I had to make sure the lever was small and the springs were tight. Small and tight stuff kinda fits together. There's not a lot of pain involved then. So I was ready to start testing the launch of the bomb. I just couldn't do it. The fucking thing exploded before it even launched. Over and over again. This is what you get when you do business with small and tight things. You blow up too soon. So I replaced the holder with a grabber and then decided to manually release the bomb. It took 500,000 attempts to hit the tower in a way where the flame would drop from the hill, but I eventually did it and slowly crept towards the flame. Once I was near, I released the mighty power of the water cannons. The flame didn't really seem extinguished, but the zone was conquered. The gods of Petardia were very pleased with this and I teleported into the next zone. The final zone of today is called Argus's Grounds. The rogue bastard stole the Argus's sword from the gods and stuck it into the ground in this shady location. My goal was to get it out of the ground and bring it to the teleporter. I cannot explain the amount of fuckery that this fucking sword put me through. This is possibly the second worst thing I have experienced in my life. Since I had a brain fart and completely forgot how to properly create cranes and use the rope and winch, I opted with using grabbers to get the sword out of the ground. Terrible idea with terrible results. My first machine was a very wide grabber thing that didn't work, mostly because I was stupid. The second machine was this car grabber thing. I thought that I could pull the sword out with the first grabber and have it drop onto the second one and then simply carry it over to the teleporter. Incredibly useless idea because there was no way to pull the entire thing out with just this tiny little grabber. Next idea was to add a few more grabbers from two different directions and with pistons. This way I would have more power within the grabbers to pull the sword out. Turns out sometimes you need more than just power to pull out. You need some technique and discipline as well. I completely changed my approach and created a very narrow catapulty thing with a grabber on one end and weights on the other. The machine kept breaking and the sword didn't want to come out, so I kept adding braces and tightening the springs until it started slowly coming out. I kept jerking it and I had the technique and the discipline, but I lacked power. So I added more springs in the back and tried again. I tried to pull it out slowly, but I realized that I need one quick jerk to pull it out completely. As I jerked it, it came flying out, but a bunch of white spikes came out of the ground. This brought the fuckery to another level, because I needed to go back into build mode and redesign the machine so it can withstand the spikes. I added a bunch of pistons on the sides that would help me smash the spikes and drive through them. As I was jerking the sword again, I realized that I could simply attempt to pull it out and just drive backwards so the sword falls onto the spikes and I avoid them completely. I attached the grabber and pulled. The entire lever broke, but the sword came out and destroyed the spikes in front of me. This fucked my machine up quite a bit, but I was determined to bring the sword to the teleporter. I kept turning around and trying to push the sword in the right direction, but the stupid broken lever was slowing me down drastically. I went back and forth, struggling to bring myself in the right position, but then I started noticing something. The sword broke my front wheels as well, and they kept speeding through the level without me realizing it. So I completely ignored the big machine and focused on the little wheels. The little wheels of godlike powers. I slowly brought them towards the handle of the sword and pushed. I fucking pushed it and conquered the zone. This is why you should never ignore the little dude who keeps running around you and annoying you. He might get a sword and stab you in the dick. The gods of Petardia weren't incredibly satisfied with my performance completing these missions, but in the end the only thing that matters is the fact that I did it. The rogue bastard has been weakened and there are only a few more missions left before he gets banished from Tolbrynd. As I mentioned before, if you're interested to witness the entire Tolbrynd conquering process, comment below and I will tell you the full story, starting from the first mission. Thanks for watching and I hope you are enjoying the expansion of the lore of Petardia. This is just the beginning. I have been Petard, your glorious lord, and may the blessings of Petardia eternally touch your butt. The only issue was the fact that a jebote pas.